You know that feeling, right? It's late, you're scrolling online, and you click on one of those true scary stories. Suddenly, you just can't look away. Well, that's not an accident. There's a powerful formula at work in those stories, a very specific anatomy that makes them so incredibly effective. And today, we're going to pull it apart and see what makes it tick.
So, what is it? What's the secret sauce that takes a simple story and turns it into something that actually keeps you up at night checking the locks? Believe me, it is not random. There's a repeatable, almost scientific structure behind the horror that really gets under your skin, and we're about to lay it all out.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with how these stories make you feel comfortable by grounding themselves in the ordinary. Then we'll get into that moment when things start to feel, well, wrong. We'll hit the big climax at the horrifying reveal, follow the desperate escape, and then we'll try to figure out why on earth we love to be scared so much.
Okay, first things first, the foundation. The most effective horror stories don't start in some gothic castle or abandoned asylum. Nope, they start somewhere completely normal, familiar. They start in your world, with people who feel like you, and that is absolutely crucial because it makes you feel vulnerable. It's the story whispering in your ear, hey, this could happen to you too.
And just look at our protagonists here. I mean, come on. We've got a couple of 13-year-old kids just playing a dumb prank. A college student probably so excited about their first house, and a young person just trying to make some money with a temp job. These aren't professional ghost hunters. They are completely, utterly ordinary people, just like us.
So, you've got your normal person living in their normal world. The next step in this formula is what we call the slow burn. This is where the world starts to, well, twist a little. It's that subtle shift, that tiny crack in reality, that starts to build this creeping sense of dread. You know something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it yet.
For our troublemakers, the first big red flag is the homeowner's reaction. It's not just annoyance, it's this white-hot, furious rage. A huge, scary guy screaming threats over a silly prank. His reaction is just way out of proportion. And that's our first real clue that this guy isn't just cranky, he's unstable. And this situation is not safe.
And the student's story? It's a masterclass in escalation. It starts so small you'd probably just ignore it, a scraping sound. Then it gets a little weirder, a spilled box of Cheerios. But do you see the pattern? The sounds move. They go from downstairs to right upstairs, right above the bedroom, in the attic. The threat is literally getting closer and way more deliberate.
With our temp worker, the dread comes from a list of bizarre rules. I mean, every single one of these is just a giant blinking warning sign, right? The house has to be dark all the time, the basement is completely forbidden, and her boss, Mel, is basically a ghost, just footsteps you can hear from upstairs. You can't help but ask, what is she hiding in that house?
And this is it. This is the moment we've all been building towards. The tension finally snaps. All those weird feelings, the strange noises, the creepy rules, they all come crashing together into one undeniable, terrifying threat. There's no more guessing. The monster is real, and it's right in front of you. For the kids playing Ding Dong Ditch, the reveal is brutally simple. The angry guy isn't just yelling anymore. As it says right here, he comes out with a rifle. And just like that, a childish prank becomes a life-or-death situation. Game over. For the student, we finally find out what's been making all that noise. And it's so much worse than an animal. It's the giggle of a child, coming from a pitch-black, empty attic. That single sound changes everything. It confirms the presence is real, it's intelligent, and it's just so wrong. As the storyteller says, fear doesn't even begin to cover it.
And then, the temp worker. After weeks of being tormented by curiosity, she finally breaks the rules and sees what's in the basement. And it is worse than anything you could possibly imagine. She's not just working for a creepy old woman, she's been living in a house with decaying bodies. The threat is suddenly very real.
Okay, so the monster is out of the bag. Now what? In a mystery novel, this is where the detective would sit everyone down and explain everything. But not here. In these stories, there are no explanations. There's only one primal instinct: get out. The goal isn't to find answers, it's just to survive. And look, the reaction is the same every single time. Our heroes see the rifle, they hear the giggle, they find the bodies, and they run. They don't stop to ask questions, they don't try to understand, they just get the heck out of there.
because when you're faced with pure terror, fleeing is the only thing that makes sense.
And this is a huge reason why these stories feel so real. There's no neat little bow at the end. The kids never find out what was wrong with that man. The student moves out, never knowing what was giggling in the attic. The temp worker escapes, but the old woman and her friends are still in that house. All our characters are left with is the memory, the trauma, and a ton of unanswered questions, just like a real person would be.
So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Why? Why do we do this to ourselves? We just took apart this whole formula for fear. We see exactly how it manipulates us, but what is it about this that we find so incredibly compelling?
So let's recap the whole formula. It really is a masterclass in psychological horror. You start by making the audience feel safe with someone they can relate to. Then you slowly, carefully introduce things that are just a little bit off, building tension until it's almost unbearable. You give them a massive, terrifying payoff. And then, and this is the key, you deny them the comfort of a clean ending. It's the perfect roller coaster of fear, and we get to ride it from the safety of our own homes.
And that leaves us with one last chilling thought. Maybe the real power of these stories isn't the man with the gun or the giggle in the dark. Maybe the true horror is just how thin that line is between a totally normal day and a desperate fight for your life. It's that scary realization that with one wrong turn, one peek into a forbidden room, your ordinary world could just fall away, and you could be the star of the next true scary story.